Hi, Jose. How are you? I can hear you, yeah? No worries. Are we a little late? No, we're not. Are we? Yep, everything's perfectly fine. We're right on time. Sure. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah. It's coming up. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So, one question up front. Whose problem is this? No, whose? Who is the owner of the problem? Who says, "Oh, this is my problem"? The restaurant or the visiting person? Whose problem is it? Right. Well, you're with the Explore program, right? This current batch? Okay. So if you have identified a problem and you know whose problem it is, then you need to validate the problem, right? You're having a hypothesis and saying like, um, for example, a restaurant loses people ordering food because their menu is not adaptable, right? This is your problem hypothesis, right? And then you need to validate this hypothesis. You need to talk to restaurants, as you did, and um, They told you it's not a problem, right? Essentially. Okay. Mhm. Okay. So it's more complicated than that. Um, so did they say this is a problem, but currently we can't react to it because, we can't change any menus? Yeah. Yeah. It makes it more complicated, right? You're asking me how to solve this problem? Okay. So, so I don't know. I don't know how big the problem is, right? I'm not an expert in the restaurant business. So really, I've never even worked at a restaurant. I think I've waited at two or three occasions at a party or something, right? But other than that, I've never worked in a kitchen, so I don't know how difficult it is to to exchange ingredients, how difficult it is with the planning, what the lead times are. If a person is ordering a specific food, I, I don't even know how the cook reacts to that. They get I know they get like a small piece of paper and saying like, "Hey, we need a red snapper at table 25 or something," and then he starts doing stuff, but I'm not sure whether he or she is following a specific list and how they react to it. Of course, there's always somebody saying like, "Hey, I'm lactose intolerant, and could you use I don't know, oil instead of butter or something, right?" And then they can work it into it, right? Because they have oil there. It's really not a problem. They can substitute on site, and they do that currently. So yes, it is a problem because people do have very specific needs because of their allergies, because of their um, problems with digesting specific food or ingredients or something. But they let the how is it currently solved, or how do they deal with the problem currently? That is something you have to look at. So currently, say again, manually, exactly. They're doing manually. You're right, but what does it do for them if they're how would it work for them if that is automatic? So for example, if you have a if you have a digital menu, right, and meaning, oh, I can eat, I don't know, I'm looking for a good example, like macaroni and cheese without cheese, something, right? I don't know. So like I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat cheese, so I need something else, right? And then I say, oh, they have a super macaroni and cheese with a substitute ingredient, which makes it taste similar or something like macaroni and cheese. And I was like, good, I'm gonna have that, but I'm gonna tell the waiter. What does he do? He goes back to the kitchen and says like, hey, somebody ordered a lactose intolerant macaroni and cheese. Could you fix that? So where does if there's that is a problem and they're solving it manually, where would your solution make it automatic? Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. But is that so? That's really the question. Who will actually do they order food via the app and this goes directly into the kitchen? Or, if a person is coming to a restaurant and they have the app, right? And then what happens then? Oh, okay, okay. So I'm checking online what the menu is for the restaurant, and it will match with what I can eat and cannot eat, right? And then oh, okay, okay, I understand. Okay, so this is a very complex problem. You know why? Because you have different parties involved, right? You need the you need the user. User one is the one coming to the restaurant, right? Right. And you have the second user, which is going to be probably a waiter or somebody who's receiving the order, or somebody at a telephone maybe calling into a restaurant and saying like, "Hey, I need something to eat," right? Okay, so which doesn't if you're replacing the person who's going to take the order, that's okay, that's fine. You are asking, but it doesn't make it easier because then the restaurant will say we have to change our processes, right? We have, usually we have a system in place and that works, right? And that is every system will defend itself at some point. So but they need to understand what the benefit is, right? What is the benefit of your solution according to the manual choosing of the user is fine with that because he can usually say what he wants to eat or can eat or cannot eat. That's what they do. They tell you on the phone. They can write it in an app when they order food with, I don't know, like Liverando or something, right? So you can also say, I take that off, right? And I want a pizza with no cheese or something, right? And but to have that directly into the kitchen, right? I'm not, they might have a system in place for maybe they're using something like Lieferando, right? And then they probably, I don't know how kitchens work. They might have a screen where the orders come up and they just, work off the orders. But how does, if they need another solution, another screen for your solution, it gets more complicated, right? So it's a really, this is really the problem with more or less any platform business, right? When you have two parties, it's really you need a demand which is large enough and which is concrete enough, right? So either convince the user, one, the person coming to the restaurant, saying, "Hey, this is an awesome tool to identify whether you can eat it or not," right? So let's say you'll find a cool way of integrating the online menu of, I don't know, like uh, any restaurant that has an online menu, right? So whether it's a PDF or a website or whatever, you pull the you crawl that restaurant, uh, pull that into your app, and then it goes through the ingredients. That would be awesome, right? Because that really creates benefit for the user because it has a standardized screen for evaluating any menu, right? And then that puts pressure onto the other party, the user, meaning the kitchen, of saying like, who they like this. And if they order through your page and say like, oh, we want this, then you have like a clear, you can show them, hey, we have users using this. If you can follow this, this would be actually to your benefit because you can increase your business by X%, right? Yeah, but this is really about, this is the trouble with any platform business. It's really like, how do you attack it? So, you need to come from either angle. Either it's always best coming from the side where the money is, right? So if the people visiting the restaurant have the money and the power of the decision, you know, hmm, right, right, yeah. And there's also something which you could take into consideration is, um, there might be an angle to restaurants as well. I don't know how complicated it is. They have to, by law, they have to put up signs, what ingredients, allergies, and so on and so forth, what the ingredients are, how they are classified, right? I estimate this is not easy to do. I don't know, right? Because you have to be a nutrition lab expert in order to do that. But how do they do that, right? That is maybe a question you can find out and saying like, how does a regular restaurant XYZ do the screen? How do they come up with it? Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I, it's really a question of what problem are you trying to solve? Really, are you trying to solve the problem on the customer side that he gets the order that he wants? Are you problem solving the problem on the restaurant side that people are going away? You want to solve the problem on the restaurant side, how to change the logistics and the ingredients? If you have a recommendation engine in there and saying like, hey, there's if you have a person saying they're lactose intolerant, you can't use cheese, then you can substitute it with XYZ, right? That would, so to have a recommendation wouldn't, it would not change their logistics fundamentally, but at the same time they will consider doing. So you need to look at what problem are you trying to solve and where do you create value for either the user, meaning the one coming to the restaurant, for the waiter who can only mess up the order, or the kitchen people saying like, hey, we can be very a restaurant can be very, I don't know, customer oriented by offering substitute ingredients for a lot more people and being very, it really depends on how you frame your idea and what problem you're really trying to solve. And if you're saying, hey, we talk to restaurants with this idea, maybe you need to understand what their problem is, right? If you're saying we have an assumption that this is a problem, where's the problem really? For the restaurant, they can't handle the 2 or 5% of people going to another restaurant because they can't serve them, obviously, because otherwise they would have said, yes, we need that, right? And this is something how you have to get closer to understanding how are they. And if they're saying we're not changing our logistics, or it's going to be too difficult to change our logistics, the question instantly should be, why? Why is it difficult to change? Right? And then I would say, because we have an order schedule for every menu we have an order schedule that comes in XYZ every 2-3 weeks or something, and then, or, fresh food daily, but it comes in and then we know how to mix it up. If we change that, if one ingredient is going to change, it's going to be too problematic. That could be one thing. It could also be like, hey, it's too difficult to figure out how to it's too difficult to what ingredients to substitute. And so like an automatic order change management could be something of interest to them, and say like, all right, we understand it's too difficult for you to change your orders, your supply channel, and you're ordering food. So that way, what if we change your order list to your supplier, right? And by saying like, in the future, you could need less butter and more lactose neutral, I don't know what, right? But I think that's a long shot. It's really a matter of how to, what problem is it that you have in focus here? Because you're saying this is a problem, but if restaurants do not confirm and see this as a problem, it's really a question of, are the restaurants the right people to talk to, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really about your product, right? What your product can do. If you're saying like, hey, we can analyze, what could be a problem, we can, you know, um, say like, hey, this is green, yellow, red, right? This is what we can say. Um, and this would be an indicator which could be very valuable to, this could be very valuable to a customer, right? Could also be very valuable to a restaurant, saying like, hey, you know, just knowing and understanding what ingredients could be problematic and what could be substituted. Sometimes they don't know, right? Because they it's very difficult to get the knowledge and so on and so forth. So one could be identification, categorization, and decomposition of saying like those ingredients are they have different categories: green, yellow, red, right? For those and that people. So if somebody's saying lactose intolerant, you can sort of like scan all your menu saying like, oh, they can eat this and they can eat that, right? And this could also be something. This could also be something which is valuable to a waiter as well, right? You know why? Because they're going to be asked, right? At the sorry, I can't eat. I'm lactose intolerant. What can I eat on the menu? And then they can give an answer, right? Because they know, oh, okay, so they just type in lactose intolerant, or it's say like they can't eat nuts, peanuts, or whatever, and then they can automatically suggest and recommend meals on the menu, saying like, yes, we have identified that for you, and here's this and that we can eat. We also double check with the kitchen So we could offer you something like a macaroni and cheese without cheese. You know what I mean? So they prior to this could be really customer oriented. This could be very valuable for maybe, I don't know, like mid class restaurants, high class. They probably have the knowledge, they have the expertise. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'm not an expert with the high class restaurant, but that could be something which is valuable for a waiter because they have to give the information to the guest, right? And I don't know. And if, otherwise, what would happen? They would go to the kitchen and say like, "Hey, there's this one guy. He says he's lactose intolerant. What can I offer him?" And then he says, "I don't know. I could maybe do this, and maybe I can do a macaroni and cheese without cheese." But yeah, okay. And then he's go walking back. So he's losing. First of all, he's losing time. It's not a transparency on information on any side, and there's no reliability. If you have checked prior to it and said like, okay, lactose intolerant, we have a substitute. We have a substitute for this. We can work this in. We also have this in our logistics schedule that is there or whatever. We can order. I don't know. This could be a benefit. But the yeah, right. Things like that happen, right? But if you can narrow it down, like the error margin, say like, okay, you have instantly the possibility of saying what is possible for this person to eat. You instantly have when ordering this, you can directly communicate it to the kitchen, and they know what to do, what ingredients to use or not. You have transparency between waiter and kitchen at the same time. It's like, no, no, you told me no butter. No, yeah, you never told me no butter. Yeah, come on, right? And stuff like that happens in the kitchen, right? So you can reduce risk, right? You can offer a bigger variety to your customers as well, right? You can set it prior to this, right? And from your stock, whatever you have in stock, we can recommend substitutes, right? So we can say, like for example, uh, oh, you want a carbonara or something like spaghetti carbonara? Would you like to have it with, I don't know, I don't know, some soy milk or another cream product? I don't know, right? You can actually get into a conversation with the guests of saying like you can make something. There's a substitute. There's two substitutes. Which one would you like to have? Both we have in the kitchen. You can lock it in. I mean, that would be something. Now, I'm not sure whether this is really a problem. This is all hypothetically, right? Your job needs to be, where's the problem with special interest guests? Let's put it that way, right? So they have a special interest in specific ingredients, or I don't know how you call them, um, but they're valuable customers, right? Because they're willing to pay extra for good service. And this is something which needs to be clear to the restaurant, saying like you could actually be very, very customer oriented by doing that. Your job is, Jose, to find out whether this is really a problem for the restaurants and have the restaurants understand that it is a problem. But I said, oh, sure. Com- 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 Yeah, I completely agree. The thing is, just look at the journey you're going to have, the journey that food takes. How is the communication, the orders, where it could be, how is the user journey? Think of it, a person going to a restaurant, right? They want to eat something and they have a predisposition with this and that ingredient. How do they interact with the waiter? How does the waiter interact with the kitchen? What if where can you make this a little bit smoother, more transparent, less risky, and a better customer experience, right? This is really this could be something that might help, right, for restaurants. Maybe not for a I don't know, like a McDonald's or something, but where they have super standardized food. But for a fairly regular restaurant, it could be something cool. Mhm. The question is there any value in personalized menus, right? I understand. I understand that, but the question is, how is the problem solved right now? You're assuming that there is a value in personalized menus, but is there really? This is for you to find out, right? You're assuming it, but currently you've heard no, personalized is too difficult, right? Yeah. Well, it would it kind of is a little bit difficult to give you the whole outline of the training now in a few minutes. But what I would suggest is, if you can't find any direct competitors saying like, hey, um, let's say there's another startup for personalized menus or something, right? If that's not there, that's it could always be, but there's phantom competition, and this is what we just talked to, solving the problem manually. This is sort of like, the deal there is, right, between the waiter and the guest in the kitchen. And this is how they do it. So this is definitely your competition. Is there any indirect competition to this? And competition is defined by two dimensions. First of all, same target group, right? And the second is same resources. So direct competition is then defined by, is serving the same target group with the same resources and technology. So um, let's say mobility, right? So this is the easiest example for me right now. Easiest easiest example for me right now is mobility. If you're looking at cars, right? If you're looking at I don't know, BMW, right? It's a car, it serves the mobility purpose. You can, get in a car and drive from A to B, right? So a direct competitor using the same technology and resources, meaning a car, is Mercedes, because you can go from A to B, serving the same target group, which is, a person that is probably having enough money to buy one of those, right? And at the same time, they are able to drive a car, right? Um, but what would also be competitor, an indirect competitor, for example, would be somebody saying like, you can fly from Munich to Berlin, right? So it's a different technology, but the target group might be the same. Like, person with high income, differentiates between, you know, going in my super expensive car or flying, because, the only difference is the time I get out of it, which means my value, right? But at the same time, it's the same target group with a different technology. That's why it's indirect competition, because usually, an airline is something very difficult than somebody buying cars, right? Building cars, right? So yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of things to it as well, right? So you can also say like, hey, could be somebody using the same. So an indirect competitor could also be somebody using the same, or a potential competitor could also be somebody who's serving, who has the same technology, right? But is serving a different customer segment right now. So, for example, um, Let's pick a good example. What was that? Oh, okay. Um, there's a Flink. You know that, or Gorillas. Gorillas, you probably know them, right? So they offer food delivery, right? So in from the supermarket delivery within, I don't know, like 10, 15, 20 minutes or something, very fast, right? So, and there could also be, and there's Lieferando. They sort of have the same technology. They have the website. They have a fleet of bike dudes who can bike around, but they're delivering from a restaurant, right? So with the small changes, they could also say like, hey, we get stuff from the supermarket. So they have the sort of the same technology as Gorillas does, website with prices, right? And at the same time, they could serve a different segment, so it's a potential customer, right? So this is basically it. So if you're looking at your model currently, I'm saying like, I'm sorry, I only have 5 more minutes. I hope you have the time. Okay. Um, so if I'm looking at your model, it really depends on who has who is in that space, who's serving, let's say, restaurants, waiters, kitchens. I don't know who delivers software there, right? Maybe Lieferando is a potential threat. What if they implement a logic such as yours, and then it comes up on the screen? Potential customer, a potential competitor. I don't know, right? Because they're already in that space, serving the same customer segment, could be. Um, and yeah, that's really that could be a potential customer. Do you have direct customers? If you say no, we didn't find anyone in personalized menus. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Um. Well, it's really hard to say. What business are you in? Are you in the service business of saying like I help the waiter to make better recommendations, or are you helping the kitchen, or are you helping the guest, right? The restaurant guest, right? That's really who are you serving? So from what you said, the detective, what was it called again? Food detectives sound more like a B2C business, right? Or are they on the restaurant side? So they're serving a different customer segment. Their potential customer, maybe really depending on their solution. Maybe they could extend, maybe they could actually, I don't know what their strategy is. Maybe that is something they want to do, extend into the restaurants later on, building that platform you talked about at the beginning. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And that's what you have to look for. Which customer segment are they serving? Which technology are they using? It by technology, I don't mean technology and resources. By that, I don't mean whether it's a, I don't know, whether it's different source code or something. What is the technology? Meaning, could be, I don't know, like hardware, software. I don't know what. Right. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Thank you. Very interesting topic. I good luck. It needs a lot of talking, I'm sure, but keep talking to restaurants. Find out about the problem. Now, usually we don't send out PDFs if you haven't participated for the single reason that we don't want people to look at a PDF and do something that has been discussed in class in the training, and then it's misinterpreted or something, right? We don't want that. So that's why there's going to be a new training in a few weeks, I'm sure, somewhere probably in February the latest. So keep out to that, right? Say again. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We haven't put out the training dates yet, so give us a little time. We're planning Q1 currently, but when we have that set, Explore program, you joined there, right? Oh, awesome. I'm supporting. Yeah, I'm supporting. Yeah, yeah. A few of the trainings, right? So market analysis and competitor analysis are not part of the program, but we're currently getting a little bit closer with the training. So you will hear when the next trainings come up. Definitely. Okay. All right. Okay. So you start with your training in when do you start in February with the Explore program, right? Awesome. Okay. So yeah, good luck, right? By interviewing all your future restaurants, and I'll see you then. Awesome. Great. Great. Thanks very much, Jose. Have a good time. Thank you. See you then. Bye.